Okay, commercial real estate content, one-off podcast. We're live.
We're live. Let's do it.
Dayma, how do you say your last name?
It's Itamunoala.
I love it. I
Yeah,
did say your I did say your first name right, didn't I?
yeah. We're good. You
Okay,
got it.
good.
I'm excited, man. I know we're just getting to know each other. First time we spoke was last week, but it was funny. I mentioned your name to Chris. I go, who's the guy that I just hired, and I go, I'm filming a podcast with Justin Ryder. I don't know if you know him, and he said, "Oh, yeah, I love that guy." And here he
No.
is a multifamily broker up here in Toronto, and he knows all your stuff. He follows you religiously, so pretty
Yeah,
awesome.
the world is really small now, and as we talked about, obviously we connected over commercial real estate content. Your feed is incredible. I went back. Somehow I didn't know you were writing, so I immediately went back a year, and I love the mix of specialty, doing multifamily stuff, talking through that personality. It was fun. I really just enjoy people's feeds that are fun
Yeah.
nowadays as much as I do informative or data driven. And so when we reached out and sort of hit it off and thought, I was very curious as a person who thinks about marketing, personal branding, content, whatever you want to call it. What are you thinking this year? So I know there are a ton of people, like whenever I do a post talking about breaking into making content, I get a bunch of messages from people who are saying, how do I start? Where do I start? Where do you get traction? And I thought it'd be super fun to talk about. So
Yeah.
maybe someone will listen. I don't know. My mom is going to listen to this. I promise you that.
Yeah, good. Good. Hi, Mom. Yeah, so I don't know. I think this year, yeah, I'm sure it's January. I'm sure there are a ton of people listening who are saying, okay, this is the year that I ramp up my social media stuff. I'm always just thinking about how to be more consistent. And like I think we've talked about this a little bit. You are an animal with it. Like you are so regimented. It's really impressive. My goal is just to be like you, to have it, scheduled 20 days out and just be organized. And I think that kind of takes a lot of the pressure off. But in terms of actual hard goals, I'd love to grow the LinkedIn following. I have a bunch of these platforms that I have. I have a podcast as well. But I'd really love to grow the LinkedIn following from, I think right now I'm at like 13,000 followers. I'd love to get up to 50,000. And it's not a vanity thing. You and I both know the power of the reach that we have and what we can do with the audience that we have now. Imagine if that was 5 times as big or what have you. I think
Right.
it'd be powerful.
Yeah. See, I'm already thinking you're allowing me to think bigger because I have never thought about having 50,000 followers. Like
I
I
don't
think
think,
I'm at 8,500 or so. And I will say this year has exploded.
yeah,
Like 4 or 5 of those are from this year, and that's mostly consistency of writing every day and just jumping in.
how long
And
have you been
also,
doing that? Like writing every day?
I started LinkedIn pretty hard in 21, and the first thing I did when I started was get into the commercial real estate world through hashtags or whatever, and just find out who's doing what, like who's writing stuff. And I immediately found people doing multifamily, which I'm really interested in. I immediately found people doing M&A deals, which I'm really interested in. And I immediately found people who are doing sort of the shared experience, which, I think it's okay to write to other brokers.
Yeah,
You've done a little bit of this. I do a lot more probably. Sometimes I think the grand audience out there is like probably not interested in the central Kentucky market, even though I have clients who definitely are interested in that sort of content. And most of that gets put into newsletters or, personal messages to them. But what's cool, what I've experienced is sometimes the post you put out there that get traction from the general public will allow someone that's a little more niche to find it because it'll send it to them, right?
yeah,
Like I remember a post, I'll never forget a post that I did where the 198th like was the seller that I was working with at the time in Kentucky, had no idea she was on LinkedIn. and she just commented and said, "Man, it's so cool to see you as a leader amongst your peers." And I'm like, well, that's really
awesome.
cool. Like, I could have posted about her deal, and she may have never even seen it.
Right.
You know, we weren't on each other's radar, but the algorithm spit it into that. So,
Yeah.
but let me ask you this: like, for you, so what would you do with an audience? Like, you're putting time and consistency into building an audience.
Yeah.
You know,
I think like it makes if I was doing the exact same thing that I'm doing now, like say I was just selling multifamily properties at Colliers and that was it, I think it would still be powerful. You know, a lot of my clients know the presence that we have online and the reach that some of my stuff gets, whether it's on LinkedIn or, you know, I have a newsletter with I think 13,000 people on it. Got a podcast with a few thousand listeners. The clients know that, and I think they hope that that can help sell their buildings for a higher price, faster, whatever it is. So like that's one aspect of it. But I think building a personal brand, you can use it for almost anything. Like if you look at some of the greats, some of my role models on LinkedIn, who I know you know, but you see strip mall guy, you see Nick Huber, and these guys are raising tons of money just off of their audience, and providing a lot of value, obviously. But I think it allows you to launch businesses and just be better at whatever it is you want to focus on. So I hope to do it all. I hope to launch businesses, grow my multifamily brokerage. You know, my little team did 263 million this year. We were really excited about it, especially in a down market. I hope we can use some of these tools to double that, you know, do even more.
yeah. And
Yeah.
what did you guys run into, or like, what do you personally run into pain point wise that you know other people are experiencing out there when it comes to writing content, being consistent?
I mean, that's basically it. Like the being consistent thing, and I think it's like I'm just a broker, right? So I think like many brokers, actually, maybe not like you, because I'm looking at how nice your house is, but like
This is a set.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, once you turn it around, it's a mess. Yeah, but like just being systematic and organized with things, like how I start my brokerage day is I have my priorities, and then there ends up being 50 things on there, right? So remembering to be organized and regimented with your content, and just, you know, if I think about how I produce stuff, it's kind of in that, you know, you could create an X and Y axis and make it into all sorts of types of content. You could make it into stuff that's valuable for brokers, stuff about property management, stuff about my personal life, and they all would have a real estate spin to it. But just, you know, making sure that you're, I guess, organized is probably the hardest thing, because if you're not, then it feels like kind of like you're on a treadmill. If you're thinking, oh, okay, every morning at 7 a.m. I got to write something or else I don't have something for the day, I think that makes it really challenging. So,
Yeah, and that's probably a great thing to focus on. That's where, if you're doing it every day, like I usually post around 8 a.m., and if you're trying to do it at 7:50, it's literally miserable.
yeah,
It feels like a chore, and it will not last.
it's also not your best content too, because
Right,
sometimes you write it and you want to edit it later. You have a better idea, but
right. So I think you got to write ahead and create some categories for yourself. And I know you and I have talked about, I paid $150 for a Justin Welsh, who is the LinkedIn content king, I guess.
the God.
Yeah, the LinkedIn content god for sure. And so I got very lucky, right? Because I've started writing on LinkedIn. Literally, someone DM'd me and said, I'm very interested in your market for a couple different reasons. And I thought, oh, this is odd. Like, I didn't cold call this person. They're not in my network, whatever. So then we started talking. In December, we closed our third deal.
Wow.
So it's hundreds of thousands of dollars, just to be honest with you. Not that I'm trying to brag about fees or whatever. It's that person came into my life and our business relationship excelled from a DM on LinkedIn. So I kind of say to myself, like, no post, I would not have met that person. And I got sort of spoiled early on because I know it's possible.
Yeah.
I was at a conference called the CREI conference that Ken Ashley runs. You know that one?
Yep.
You definitely need to come to that next year.
Okay. Where is it?
And it's in Atlanta next year coming up. This past one was in Florida. So, I mean, someone in the meeting and probably someone watching or listening to this he said, like, I'm not going to do this. It's a waste of time. And I don't want to see pictures of people's dogs or whatever on social, and the rest of it's garbage anyway. And I was like, dude, my experience has been the total opposite. So I think it's worth it, to write well, to curate your stuff. Certainly you have to curate your feed a little bit because you can get into some garbage type stuff. But the 30 people I comment on consistently, of which you're one, they're putting out top tier leadership, case studies, real numbers, real business opportunities, giving people real ideas. So I don't know, it's been a huge win for me.
Yeah, totally. And so throwing it back to you with the same question, what are your goals? Why are you building this community?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've often thought about that. I think my lifelong dream is to write a book. And I'm not exactly sure what. I do not feel the world needs more math books. Call them how-to books about commercial real estate. I do feel the world could be served by sort of a Seth Godin approach, more of a marketing, smart commentary, marketing that gets into strategy and sales. My personal belief is that sales is creating. Like, I've never considered myself in sales in the sort of way that a lot of people think of sales. Right. But if you think of yourself as a change agent, like, okay, what am I doing? I'm potentially bringing about change in someone's life or investment that's positive into there. That could start with a post. It could start with writing. It could start with content. It could start with a cold call. Who knows how that change would happen or how it would begin. So that's how I think of sales. And I really like that approach. So I'd like to write about that long term. I'm pretty two-dimensional right now. I mostly write, which I really enjoy. This year, I definitely want to do video.
Yeah.
So I uploaded my first YouTube video of my entire life last week. I'm going to try weekly 3-minute recaps just to build the skill of being on camera. Obviously bought this camera. Actually, thank you for buying me this camera, Dayma. Thank you so much. This is such a cool piece. No, I'm just kidding. So would love to do video, would love for that to be incorporated into my market as well. Market reports, good quality. I'm very excited about a potential audio project that I have on the books. Like I've been obsessed with podcasts since pre-serial days. Again, I don't feel the world needs another how-to buy real estate podcast. I really don't think the world can stand another interview podcast with that's trying to be on a national scale. Right.
I got one of those, by the way, but yeah.
Well, I was going to say yours is you're talking about you're the reason, man. Yours is so good. That's why I'm saying I can't.
Oh, there you go. We're up here in Canada. It's a different world.
Yeah, but you're still bringing on, and actually I'm going to ask you your audio strategy after this, so save that thought. But I feel like you're bringing on people that are specialty people, maybe owners, developers, people that are speaking into your market.
Yeah.
And it's firing up clients, right? So like, I love the idea of doing the Fort podcast with Chris Powers type of thing. Guess what? It's already done.
Right.
And he's got 10,000 times the reach that I do. So got a couple ideas.
Yeah.
For one in the future.
Yeah.
How do you guys look at your podcast? Like, what are your audio goals?
Honestly, so LinkedIn has been a tiny bit more central to me recently. But the podcast I started doing actually 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. And
Wow.
when, I actually filmed the first one on my phone. And this was back, maybe it was 5 years ago. And it was back before I had any success in real estate. I had so little money in my bank account, I actually would go out to Best Buy and buy the cameras, and then I would record them and return them afterwards. Just because I like didn't have the $1,000. Um, but
That's how
yeah,
I'm doing with this.
yeah, yeah, right. Yeah. But it grew quickly, and I mean, we just try and make interesting content. For us, what's most important when we're doing the interviews is we need to be interested in whoever we're speaking with. And I think it really shows when you're not. So, we're usually trying to figure out something almost selfishly. We're thinking, how do we develop? How do we we had on Michael Emery, who's the founder of Allied, which is a big Canadian REIT. Here they do a lot of brick and beam buildings. They own a ton in Toronto. And you have a guy like that on because you're curious about his success and how he
Right.
thinks of the world and how he navigates this type of market. So yeah, we just try and have on people that we're interested in and answer, the tougher questions. One thing that we're trying to move more into, when we started, it was just the interview thing, and we were kind of nervous and didn't have as much expertise to offer. Now we're really trying to do a little bit
Hmm.
more, me and my co-host talking through ideas, helping people out in that respect, um, which has
I
been
love that.
it's been fun. So,
Yeah, no, I've listened to a couple, and the video element is killer now too. So if you can just post it everywhere, you have the audio component, you have the video along with it is really great.
yeah,
Um,
and you never know how people are going to consume your content. I was at the Leafs game with some clients 2 nights ago, and they don't even have LinkedIn, but they said the reason they chose me for a LinkedIn for a listing recently was because of the podcast.
really? Oh,
Yeah,
because of the pod.
yeah, because they're like, well, we listen to you every week. We honestly
Oh,
didn't even
dude,
think about anybody else, and so
that's killer.
yeah,
That's really killer. That is the beauty of and the power of an interactive resume. I guess not interactive, but a resume that you've built that's going to those clients before you even meet them, which is cool. And I
yeah,
really enjoy that. Like I go to Christmas parties or whatever around here, and people are like, I love your stuff on LinkedIn. And I'm like, thank you. And they'll mention a post that's from 3 months ago. They said, man, I just saw that post that you did, and it was like 60 posts ago. So I have
yeah.
no idea how the algorithm is working, but it's working to put stuff in front of people. So let me ask you this. So you're high power, successful broker, right? So slinging a ton of apartments in Ontario, right? Is that
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
what is the stuff that you most enjoy on LinkedIn? Like when you see a post, or where do you feel like the network, the platform is heading to where
Um,
you're like, man, that's the kind of thing I want to see.
I mean, I honestly I like the variety because and that's how I try and create my content. I like the stuff that's informational. So you have like a Jay Parsons who's putting out all sorts of market data all the time. That's great sometimes. I really like the strip mall guy type of content, which is more I don't even know how to describe it. It's a mix of advice and little things that he notices. It even touches on satire a little bit, but you feel like you really know the individual when he's writing. So
Hmm.
that's my favorite type of thing. The authentic. I suppose and I don't mean to knock it too bad, but when people just post I'm so grateful to whatever. It's like the template that everybody posts. The opposite of that. When somebody really almost takes a risk. Part of when you're
Hmm.
posting, you should be thinking, well, is this a little bit silly? Is this a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
You don't want to be unprofessional because you have a brand and a reputation to take care of, but you want to be authentic. And that's the stuff that I really like. So again, going back to those guys that are like a Nick Huber, whatever, where it doesn't seem as formulaic. Um, yeah, that's what about you? Your content.
You know,
Your content. That's the stuff.
thanks, brother. You're way too kind, man. I feel like I just started. I would like to sprinkle in more math.
Yeah.
I love experiential stuff, and I love on LinkedIn to focus on the shared experience. So if I experience something where it hits me, it could be as simple as the for the 1,000th time when I put a phone number in my calculator. You know, like I posted about that the other day, and people were like, "Oh my gosh, I do that all the time." Like that's a
Right.
stupid thing, but it's a great shared experience that we all have as brokers and probably investment bankers and others too. So I like putting that stuff out there. You know, probably my biggest inspiration early on was Sean Ward, and he's a industrial broker in Southern California, and he's just super, super genuine. And by the way, he was in the LinkedIn game early. I
Right.
mean, like early, like the only one posting about commercial real estate in 2017,
Wow.
and just thought like, I'm going to do this and see where it goes. And I don't think he has many more followers than say you, for example, but his reach is unbelievable.
Yeah.
I've never seen, you know, almost every other post is viral with over 1,000 reactions. And
Wow.
I just think he takes a genuine approach. He taught me that it was okay to not to use LinkedIn like a resume only.
Right.
Like, hey, I closed this. And every post is like that.
It's
I love, oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say it's a really hard skill to master. It really is like a practice thing. One of my old mentors, I was talking to him yesterday, and he was boosting up my LinkedIn, whatever, and this is a guy that's awesome. You know, this guy could do anything, and he's saying, "Oh, Dayma, like I would rather speak in front of 1,000 people at a conference than post, you know, something different on LinkedIn." I'm like,
Wow.
how does that make sense? But it's just a practice thing, right? So you got to get used to it and give yourself a chance. So
Yeah, and I do love the people that take the professor angle too. Like John Drockman is a guy. I don't know if you follow him. He's the
no,
principal at Waterford. So I'll send you his feed. But he started predicting way before the rate hikes that things were going to get tough in 23. And he even called himself Dr. Doom, which I
Yeah.
just thought was like awesome. And he teaches a class at USC. And so they're longer posts. I would say they're more from a scholar type approach, almost like a Howard Marks type approach to real estate, but they're really good. And
Yeah.
I spoke at University of Kentucky the other day to the real estate club, and I almost extensively looked at like his outline of one of the classes he taught and just modeled it after that. I think that's good. There's so many people I'm leaving out that I think do a great job and are consistent.
It's really tough to do that professorial type consistently, especially if you're trying to post every day or more than once a day. Like again, Jay Parsons is a great example of that, but I'm certain he has a whole research department underneath him. So that's where it makes me think you need to have a little bit of a team. We talked about this when we first connected, that it's nearly impossible to transition it to somebody else writing for you. Like then you lose you lose it. You lose the flavor. It just doesn't work. But if you can have somebody else helping you, whether it's, you know, your research team or whatever, to give you some ammunition, and you know, I think that might be a worthwhile approach too.
Yeah, I almost feel like I can tell. I'm not saying I'm like some genius or something, but if it's written by Chat GTP, I feel like I can almost tell immediately.
Well, the best is when they have like the emojis on the post, and that's ChatGPT's default when you say write me a LinkedIn post, and you're like, you didn't even change it at all. Right? But yeah,
it's not good, but you can use. I mean, I've learned a ton about writing from the Ship 30 for 30 guys, Dickie Bush and there's a guy, Nick, who's part of that too. I can't remember his last name. And they're super famous. They basically got super famous about writing and have successful businesses now. And they basically get people to write 30 days in a row. And that's the whole point of the business. Ship 30 posts, which there's something to be said for that. Just do it 30 days and see what happens. But I love those guys have a ton of prompts. I can't remember why I was telling you that. Embarrassing to forget your thought on it.
We're thinking about the difference between a ChatGPT post and then maybe something
Oh, yeah.
else.
So he's got great stuff out there about how to use it. And I do use it for content stuff. Like I will ask ChatGPT, like, what are some pain points for commercial real estate agents trying to produce content? I did that in prep for this. And certain points are super vanilla, dumb, like obvious. And then one popped up that was like, well, they do have trouble figuring out when to be professional or personal. And I'm like, that's a great point.
Right.
And my belief is that it's a mix of both.
Yeah.
I think people in this modern world responds to authenticity. And so I think it's okay to be a professional and to be yourself, be real in your stuff. And, but the other thing is you can tell ChatGPT at any time, rewrite this as a Nick Huber post, which is a little scary, and it will spit it out. So
especially as it gets better and better, it is fun. Like if you go away from the ChatGPT, obviously you can use it as a tool. But yeah, like the authenticity is so important because only you can sound like you. Like only Justin Ryder has that unique mix of all the things that you have in your arsenal.
Right.
Whereas like me, it might be a tiny mix of, the business, but I'm also a sucker for satire and messing around. Right. So it's like, that's maybe my flavor. I'm not sure.
And I wonder how many people, and I'm still trying to figure out my angle on reports. So you did this post that's had all of I'll let you tell it. It was basically every financial institution out there in their that you'd want to hear about in their 24 perspectives, right?
Right. Well, that was pretty much it. So I put this post out in like early December. It was, all of the major institutions. So BlackRock, Goldman Sachs, whoever, PwC, Colliers, CBRE. There's some real estate ones, and then there were just the main credible banks. And that one kind of went crazy. I actually posted something similar the year before, so I suspected it was going to do pretty well. But yeah, that post alone was seen by something like 1 million people and reshared, hundreds of times, and it kind of opens you up to a whole new audience. So that was really interesting. And yeah, I had somebody go and a person who works for me go and find a bunch of these reports. Then I had to skim them and make sure, do a couple validating checks. And yeah, and then I think where you're going with that was the ChatGPT thing to summarize it at the end, right?
Oh, I didn't know if you did or not. Did you use it to summarize them?
At the end, because that was one of the top comments was like, hey, could somebody just tell me what's going on in these? Because I'm not willing to read it.
Yeah.
So I just put the whole thing through the AI and it popped something out and I put it into a slide deck.
Yeah, that was killer. So you did a follow-up post to recap everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, that's curation at its finest today. And I actually haven't seen a better example of that. I wish I would have thought of it. I'm super jealous. But curating is a big piece of it. I think I naturally I've trained multiple people in brokerage and I really enjoyed that. I do naturally lean to, the idea of like talking through, I get a lot of messages about, hey, it's my first year in brokerage. What should I be thinking?
Yeah.
What should I be doing? So, I kind of lean in that direction, curating data, how to get better. Ultimately, I think all of the media stuff helps me see and believe that we're real estate entrepreneurs.
I just wanted to introduce you to my boy Chris here.
Oh, right. Chris, what's up, man?
Hey, how are you?
Pretty good. How are you?
Good. Big fan of your content on LinkedIn.
See, there you go.
Uh, oh, man.
All right. Okay.
This is a
All
plan.
right.
I'll pay him later.
No, it's not a plan. I'll give you a shout after. Okay. All right, man. Have a good weekend.
He's probably going to a showing, right? It's Friday.
Yeah, maybe. This guy is such an animal. It's so funny. Well, I told you before, but like he was telling me he's calling as big opportunities as he can find, and he's just like, what did he came into my office and he's like, this guy won't give me any information. You think I should play hardball with him? If you want me to sell this thing for 500 million, I need data. I'm like, I don't know if that's gonna work, but I like that energy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
So
I was saying before he popped in, I think
sorry about that.
the
by
media
way.
stuff oh, no, you're fine. The media stuff reminds me that we're not agents. Like, there's a difference
Yeah.
between looking at your life as a real estate agent and commercial real estate advisor, whatever you want to call it, versus a real estate entrepreneur. And like,
Yeah.
you've really pushed me in that too, because I've not thought about building an audience for the purpose of raising money for investments or, to write a book someday or to have 50,000 to really start growing this thing and to have it be a viable business. So, but it's easy to see when I see a feed like yours. I don't think, what a great agent. I think he's a real estate entrepreneur. And he could approach the business from many different angles, do well for many different reasons. And I think that's a really good thing.
Yeah, and I think your audience is going to stick with you, right? So it's
Right.
I mean, yeah, they don't know you as Kentucky broker, right? They know your personality. They know you deeper than that, honestly. So if you put out a fund, if that became a thing, if you put out a fund and said, "Hey, I'm doing this," people like myself might reach out and say, "I like that guy. This is one of the smarter guys. Why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I get involved with this?" Or
I just
whatever.
got
it might
myself
be,
an
right?
investor.
Yeah, yeah. Let's go. Let's do it.
So this might be a good place to end.
Sure.
One of the biggest challenges that people continue to bring up to me is like, what do you write? What do you think? Not that they have writer's block, but literally thinking like, how do you come up with ideas? What ideas work? What don't? So like, as a content creator, one of the things that you can do to put yourself in the best one of the things you can do to put yourself in the best position possible is just to keep yourself creative and inspired. And why don't we just end there? Like, what do you do to keep yourself creative, inspired, writing, having ideas so that you can just publish?
I think as if you're in practice, it really helps. Much like a stand-up comic who is always thinking, "Oh, how is that a funny joke?" and then they'll whip out their notepad. I think it's kind of
Right.
like that, So I'm often, especially if I'm in the middle of a deal, that's where I might get a lot of my ideas, and something's going on. I'm probably writing myself an email saying, "Oh, this people would find this interesting. Somebody could learn from this." How that's basically it. And then, of course, just like I imagine you do, you have all those categories and archetypes, and you're like, okay, how can I make this valuable for my end client? How can I make this valuable for the new broker? Who is my audience on this? And, where can I go with that? So, I don't know. What about you?
I think reading.
Yeah.
If I'm reading 20 to 30 books a year on strategy, I'm a huge memoir. Like I'm trying to read every memoir, biography, or autobiography that was written about a world-renowned deal maker. And so when you see that person's life, like when you look at Bill Marriott's life from beginning to retirement, or William Zeckendorf or John Bold or Trammell Crow, or just people that are out there. I mean, there's not that many of them. I think there's probably 40 or 50. I hope there's more. Please send them to me if you're listening to this. I'm trying to find them all, but so that stuff really inspires me. Again, entrepreneurship in action. And not only do you get to see the immediate effects of business going well, but you get to see the life. You know, there's moves that these people made where at the end of their life, they're like, and if I hadn't taken that chance, then I would not be where I am today. So I love that stuff. And I love reading about marketing, sales.
Yeah.
You know,
You know what one
so
you would like actually? I read this a few years back. I forget the title, but it was about creative artist agency and the story of Michael Ovitz, who is basically CAA is one of the biggest
oh,
talent agencies in LA, right? And so this would be, kind of what Entourage is based
yeah,
off of, like Ari's character. He's based off of Ari Emanuel, you might know, but so it goes way back when he's starting out, and his clients are Tom Cruise and Steven Seagal and all these guys, and it's closer to brokerage than you might think. Like these guys are packaging things. They have a movie. They're trying to get the actor, and they're brokering that deal. This is very, very interesting.
yeah, it's on
Anyway,
my list. He's a
yeah,
deal
okay,
maker. I mean, it counts. You
yeah,
know, I mean, I put it on my
totally.
list because you said it, but yeah, if you're making deals, I want to read about your life, and especially if you've done enough that someone wrote a book, there's some significance there for sure.
Oh yeah,
So yeah, last goals, man. I mean, I'm gonna hold you accountable to this. Please hold me accountable. We can be partners in this. Um, I'd love to grow. I'd love to double followers this year by really adding value. Love to do 25 videos. Love to do 25 audio. This counts, by the way. This one video. Love to
yeah.
do 25 episodes of this podcast potentially, and would love to get 3 new clients. Truly, like I'm always thinking when I see my DMs, which sometimes get crazy. I'd like to get 3 new clients off this effort and see some great people invest in Kentucky stuff.
The way that you're going, it wouldn't surprise me if you were 4 or 5x where you are by the end of the year. So I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, I hope you hold me accountable too. I know this podcast, we're kind of all over the place because we're just trying something out, but I hope we can do a bunch of these and create some value.
Yeah. And you've recently jumped on Twitter too. So we'll post this on Twitter so everyone can follow you
Okay, yeah, great.
there. Or you may have been on before, but I think you just started tweeting regularly, right? Or posting?
No, I basically just
No.
started.
Oh, okay.
So
You did just start.
just started. I'm still trying to figure out how to. I'm learning. I'm learning, but yeah, I'm hoping that's a platform that can grow for me too.
Yeah. No, I think this will be a good part of it. There's definitely 10 or 15 people that will follow you now. 'Cause,
Yeah, cool.
I wish it was more though. I wish I could offer you more, brother, but I'm just starting out in some ways too. So,
Early
but
days.
yeah, man, this
Early
was
days,
fun.
man.
Kind of a one-off. Get excited about content, excited about 24, and keep giving each other ideas. So I really enjoyed it.
Awesome. Well, I love it too. So yeah, always good to see you. Second
Thanks,
time,
man.
first of many. Okay, so we'll call that the end then.
We'll call it the end, and if it goes viral for some crazy reason, then I guess we've just started a podcast.
That would be awesome. And then yeah, I was thinking about like how do we. I mean, maybe we can think about this for the next one, but like, what do we do to make this super super valuable? I don't know. We could answer some really tough questions, but I mean, yeah, I'm curious to see the response. Should be fun.